The Accidental Entrepreneur is brought to you with the help of our sponsor, AWeber, the world's leading small business email marketing and automation service provider. Since 1998, AWeber has helped more than 1 million small businesses and entrepreneurs through its suite of web-based email marketing, automation tools, and education. AWeber, the best option when it comes to marketing your business. The podcast is also brought to you by the Alternative Board. Since 1989, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has been one of the leading peer advisory and business coaching organizations for independent business owners and CEOs across the world. By facilitating peer advisory boards, private one-on-one coaching, and strategic planning services, TAB helps business owners improve their businesses in ways that change their lives. And be sure to connect with our affiliate sponsor, GSM Growth Agency. They're boosting e-commerce businesses to 6 and 7 figures in revenue and cover everything from ads and social media influencers to making your website better. GSM Growth Agency focuses on taking businesses from startup success to bigger success, going above and beyond to make sure growth sticks around. They're all about cool ideas, lasting partnerships, and making your mark in the e-commerce world. And be sure to support the podcast by ordering some logo merchandise from our online store. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services.
We tell ourselves an infinite number of stories about why we can't do something. And when I came back after this transformation, I sat down and I wrote a book. I didn't intend to. I just wrote out all the stories that I told myself that I overcame. And I wrote a book called Jumping the Gap. And the gap is where you are right now and where you want to be, right? If you imagine two cliff sides and you're looking at that other cliff, maybe 15, 30 feet away, everything that you want is over there. Now you're terrified about jumping that gap because, what if I fall? What if I, right? And so I took that, I turned that into a little book, and it's on Amazon. You can buy it, but I'd rather give it to your audience for free. So to get my free book, Jumping the Gap, Kill Your Story and Take Action. And this is about how to kill all those stories that you tell yourself about why you can't. To get this book, just text the word GAP to that same number, 213-409-8366. Text GAP, G-A-P, to 213-409-8366 and download my free book, right?
All right. Welcome to another show. Dan's dancing around there, but I got him on mute, so he'll be on soon. And another great guest. I love having guests on who have a lot of energy and a lot of great things to share. So we're going to talk a little bit about Dan's story. He doesn't want you to dwell on that, but we are going to get into, what are the ways that you can increase your chances of success as an entrepreneur? Because I talk about that on the show all the time. So today's going to be a great show. If you are listening on your favorite podcast directory, leave us a 5-star review whenever you can. If you're watching us on YouTube, like the channel, subscribe to the channel so we can keep connecting with people like Dan. So let's get on with the show.
The information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work, and they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Beinhacker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode.
Hey, I'm Coach Stan Gordon, and I got a little bit of bad news for you. I'm going to be telling you the truth today. So if that's not something you like to hear, tune out. But if you are a badass entrepreneur, and I only work with badass entrepreneurs, you are going to love today's show. By the time we're done, you're going to have a bunch of new action items to hit it hard in business and in life. Can't wait to help you.
All right, Coach Dan Gordon, I'm excited to have you on the show.
Mitch, I'm twice as excited to be here, man.
Yeah. I love it.
So I'm going to jump right in. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
I just want to say before we get into this, I am the thing that makes me thrilled to be here is I love entrepreneurs. Hold on. Let me back up on that. I love badass entrepreneurs. Now, may I share the difference between the two? Okay.
I was going to ask you anyway,
cool.
somewhere along the show.
An entrepreneur is someone, generally speaking, who creates a job for themselves, right? They leave whatever 9 to 5 that they're doing, and they essentially create a job for themselves, right? They're not really building a business, right? And we can talk about the difference of that. I'm sure you do all the time, right? Now, a badass entrepreneur is the exact people who are listening to your show, right? People who try new things, who it's not that they're not afraid, but they step into their fears constantly. They try things, they fail, they get back up. They try things, they fail, and they get back up. And that's what I love about the accidental entrepreneur, because you never know what's going to work. You never know.
So they're like the free form rock climbers, right? They're not strapped to the thing. They're jumping around, and
it's so true.
Hoping that they know when it doesn't, they'll figure it out, right?
Yeah. And and that's the thing, I tell my clients this all the time. You have to jump off the cliff first and then figure out how to grow the wings, right? It doesn't work the other way.
No, you have to make mistakes in order to grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hopefully you get better at it. You make smaller mistakes. You don't make all the big mistakes, because those could be, really detrimental to what you're trying to do. But yeah, I mean, the ones that they want to break it and they want to fix it and they want to figure out what's wrong, and they'll take the risk. And sometimes it doesn't break.
Yeah.
And that's how you really push the learning curve. So yeah, I love the term. There's another guy I met from Texas who also is like I don't know if coach is the right word, but he's like a community, like an online community. And they talk about like badassery or something. And he's a podcast host and stuff. I met him through someone a while ago. I forget what his name was. Anyway, but I love the term badass because, it is about taking risks.
Yeah.
The whole concept of being an entrepreneur is about taking risks. If, like you said, you start a business and you are not really, growing it or learning how to work on the business versus in the business, you're really just an employee of a company you also happen to own.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And while we're talking about risk, because look, every Instagram post from Refrigerator Magnet says you got to take risk, and everybody agrees. But here's what a risk is. Most people don't really know what a risk is. A risk is a terrible idea, right? A risk is the thing that you say, I shouldn't be doing this. And when you ask your 9 to 5 friends, they say, oh yeah, absolutely not. Don't do that. No. That's what a risk is. Now, like when I went skydiving, right? I was all about skydiving, right? Until we're 10,000 feet off the deck and my instructor rolls open the door. Right? And I look out and I'm like, holy shit, what have I got myself into? Right? That's what a risk is. And like I said earlier, here's what I learned from skydiving. And that is that you don't know whether or not you have a working parachute until after you get out of the plane. Now,
Right. But you calculate things to mitigate your risk to hopefully that will work. Obviously.
But your emotions, your thinking is going to tell you, I might have a bad shoot. I should stay in the plane. Right. Same thing as an entrepreneur. Like you're going to think, maybe I shouldn't do this. I could lose a lot of money. Of course you can lose a lot of money. That's the business that you're in.
Right. Well, the good thing about being an entrepreneur is that it's like the skydiving without the possibility of death.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's always good. You can take more risks when you might not die in the process. And be careful. Calculated about your risks, right? We're not saying you should just be crazy and take any kind of risk and doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think it builds, and then I want to get into a little bit, because I told you I do want to tell some of your story. I want people to know who you are and what it was. But I do think that people build their constitution by taking risks and realizing that, hey, that wasn't so bad.
Absolutely.
I think Brene Brown calls it something like your first freaking time or something like that. But it's the same, right? That's what it is. We've become more comfortable with roadblocks and failures and risks because it's not so bad.
Yeah.
We got over that wall. It's not so scary over here. We can try this now. We can try that now.
You get better. You get better at everything that you do, right? You never get worse at something that you do over. Like before the show, I said, "Wow, hey Mitch, you're really good at this." And you're like, "Well, I've done 300 episodes." Well, of course you're going to be good at it.
If you're not, then you've got another problem.
Right.
Anyway, right? You shouldn't be doing it. Okay, so let's talk. Let's spend some time. I know you don't want to spend a lot, so not the whole show.
Yeah.
Tell me about your background, your history. I know you've had your own obstacles and things you overcame. So let's share your story so people can relate to that, and then we'll get into all the great stuff.
Yeah, and the reason I listen to a lot of podcasts. The part of the podcast that I hate is when someone goes on and on about their history. So we're going to make this quick. Okay. And I think this is actually going to connect to what we've been talking about. So in 2017, as a guy who found myself in a very unusual position, I was face down on my carpet in a pool of snot and tears because my marketing company had just collapsed. In a month, I had lost $80,000. I was another $30,000 in debt, and I was having what I can only call an emotional breakdown.
Right. Sure.
And so the thing that had happened is I had made a series of very small mistakes that all came at me at once, right? Now, even when I was at the depth of despair, I still knew that this was not the end of the story. This was the middle of the story. And I knew that I must have done something to put myself in this position for a reason. And that's very important to everybody who's listening. Anything that you do, anything that happens to you, you created for the purpose of growth and discovery. So even though I was in a lot of pain, I knew that I was that I had created this situation for some greater purpose. I didn't know what that was, but I knew that. Right. So I called a friend. And this is another lesson. When you're in the depths of despair and struggle, reach out. Nothing great was ever created alone, right? No. Orville and Wilbur Wright, Neil Armstrong and Buzz, Shaggy and Scooby, right? You got to do things with someone else, right? I called a friend, Laura Lee, and Laura Lee said, well, what do you want to do, right? And I said, I don't know. The thing I want to do, there's no chance of me doing that. And now a little bit of background. I spent a decade flying around the country and in Europe teaching personal development courses. I would lead these intensive weekend seminars to help people become greater versions of themselves. The reason I got out of it is because most people give up on themselves. Most people give up on themselves, right?
That's right. 20% of the people come and you can only help 20% of that group.
Right. So, like I'd fly into a center, teach a course. I'd come back a year later and the same people would be kind of hanging out like, hey, what happened with starting your business? Or, talking to your boyfriend about getting married. And they're like, I don't know. I changed my mind. I'm like,
coming every course. So you worked for that company though.
Yes. Right. Yeah. I was a paid facilitator. Right. And and everything I had done, there was always a level of that facilitation because I'm really good at it. Right. And so I said,
energy.
I said, Laura Lee, I want to be a business coach, but who's going to hire a business coach who just failed at business? And she goes, I don't know. You'll figure it out. Right. 8 months later, almost to that day, I walked out on stage in Dallas, Texas, being paid $10,000 for my very first speaking gig. Now, the journey from the floor to the stage was a journey of massive transformation. Every day I was doing uncomfortable things because I had wiped the whiteboard of my life clean. I had taken everything that I knew about myself and thrown it away. And here's what I recognized, Mitch. The thing that destroyed my marketing company was that I inadvertently hired a pathological liar. And and he made a bunch of promises that we could never keep. Now, I say inadvertently with little air quotes because I actually hired him because I hated marketing. I'm just really good at it. But I wanted out of that business, but my ego wouldn't let me out, right? So I destroyed the company to get myself out of that so I could transform and become the greatest version of myself. And that's what I am today. And since that day, I have helped over 1,000 entrepreneurs live lives that they never dreamed possible before because I have put them through a process of massive transformation.
Yeah. So that's the whole question here, right?
Yeah.
Like, why do you think, right? So you didn't have those tools then. There you are laying face down on your carpet, right? There's not a lot of people that can pick up their own bootstraps and call their friend and spend 8 months, they may spend 8 years trying to figure it out and saying, you know what? I'm going to do this and I'm going to be more uncomfortable. So what do you think was in you? Maybe because you're already in the personal development space. I don't know. that you had it in you that other people just, I mean, look, we said very few of them get to the seminar, right? Very few of them get to the development seminar, and even fewer than them actually follow through on it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was in you that got you up and said, this is not the end of the story?
Okay. One, it's part of my constitution. It's a God-given determination that I have in me. Right.
Personality.
Right. And look, I don't want you who are listening to go, well, I don't have that, so I can't. All right. Get that out of your head right now. Right. Let's get the I can'ts out of your head. Part of it is that a very, very small part is that. All right. The other part is I had a rough upbringing. I had a rough childhood. All things being equal, I should be living under a bridge with a needle in my arm, but right.
You saw it through.
Right. Yeah. And so I had done a series of things for, let's say, 20 to 30 years before that. Right. I had moved from my home of 40 years to Los Angeles, which was its own difficult thing. Right. I had a history of doing very difficult things and failing and getting back up again. They were smaller, not like this, but they were things. Right. And so you want to begin today. It's like, look, if you want to be a great piano player, you're never going to be Elton John, right? He always had that in him, right? From a very early age, he could just play. But you start practicing right now, taking small risks, very small risks, and stepping into discomfort. It's not that the fear goes away, and it doesn't ever seem easier. It's sort of like when you're lifting weights. Like it never feels easier. You just keep packing on more weight. Every time that you lift weight, it feels. What's that?
Not as daunting.
Yes,
it's not as overwhelming.
Right. So, like a professional weightlifter, when he goes to do bench presses or she, they know it's going to hurt, right? They're used to that, right? So it's the same thing. I'm used to things being painful, but I'm also know that when I do painful things, usually, not always, but usually something good comes of it.
Right. Something good comes of it. You know, I think it's a really good comment that it's like when you're the guy, the pitch guy, right? If somebody comes to you and says, Dan, I want to be like you and I get through this and I'm just you. And you say, listen, you're not like me. You're like yourself. Yeah. So you may not get the same results but you will get better results from doing what you're doing. You may not be able to use the piece of equipment that the guy's demonstrating so well because he does it hours and hours and hours every week.
Of course, right.
But it will help you if you follow these, you'll do better following these because now you're the one who's giving advice, Right. And I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Mitch, it's like if someone came to you and said, wow, I want to be a great podcaster like you. I think what you say is great. Do 300 episodes, come back and talk to me.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Hours. What is it? The 10,000 hours?
10,000 hours. Yep. Yeah.
You and Elton John practiced the piano for 10,000 hours. He would still be a superstar and you wouldn't, but you would be very good at playing the piano.
I would. Right. Yeah. I mean, I would be a lot different.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Michael Jordan was naturally a very good basketball player. He also practiced a lot.
Yes.
So if you practice as much as him, you might not go to the NBA because you don't have it in you, but you will be a good basketball player.
And Michael Jordan had something that you who are listening right now probably don't have, and that's a coach. Right. Nothing great happens alone. And I know it's expensive. What am I going to get out of it? And all those things. Hey, can I just take a second and tell people how to find a great coach? Not me, just a great coach. Okay. First thing, if you're looking for a business coach, I'm not talking about life coach or, whatever coach. Right. If you're looking for a business coach, the very first question that you have to ask that coach when you're looking through different coaches is ask the question of, how do you plan to get me paid back for what I'm paying you? How do you plan to get me paid back for what I'm paying you? Right. Now, if they say, well, what you put into it is what you get out of it, run. Don't walk, run. It's a BS response. And what they're saying, it would be like hiring someone, it'd be like hiring a pilot and saying, hey, I want you to fly me, from New York to LA. And the pilot and then the pilot landing in like Cleveland and saying, well, if you were a better passenger, we would have made it.
Right. Yeah. No, there's no promises there. Yeah. They don't want the responsibility of saying, okay, well, some accountability.
Yeah. So
I think that if you're starting out and you're just a new entrepreneur and you don't have a lot of capital and you're stressed, find a mentor, find some people you can talk to work with them till you start building up to the point where you can have somebody who can coach you. And it might take a while to find the right person anyway, like you said, right? I mean,
It definitely will.
I never look at the coach as like therapy. I'm not good at that stuff, but somebody who could help me strategically build my business and answer the questions of, okay, how do I do this? How do I get from here to here? Is helpful to me. Other people need someone to talk to every week. Maybe they need a therapist more than a coach. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. And one more thing on that. If your coach has pictures of themselves on a private plane, also run. If they have pictures of themselves with their expensive car, run.
Right.
Now, if the coach has pictures of their clients on private planes or their clients with expensive cars, that's great because they've helped them do that thing. And don't fly private. It's a colossal waste of time. And you just touched on something that's really important. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about my secret weapon, stress.
Good.
Mitch, stress. Stress is, I would say, the number one killer of ideas, motivation, and momentum. Now, I have found this. What's that? Oh,
like
completely.
You stop thinking.
Right.
Yeah. You just can't function.
I've tried everything from microdosing to meditating with Buddhists. I found something because I have a very short attention span that works great. It's a product called NuCalm, NuCalm, and NuCalm uses this process called binaural beats, which is just another way of saying music, and it's an app on your phone. Yeah, it improves your sleep. It reduces stress, it enhances my focus, and it optimizes my performance. Now, sleep and stress are the two big things that most entrepreneurs struggle with. You need more sleep. I don't care how much you're sleeping right now, you need more.
Go without food and water. No sleep, you lose your mind.
So I put on this NuCalm first thing in the morning. And there's different classifications, and one of them just gets me going. Right. And I'm just listening to it while I'm brushing my teeth, everything, but it is enhancing my performance. I start getting ideas from the moment I wake up. I get up at 5 a.m. and immediately this starts putting me into action. And at night I listen to it because it puts me to sleep. This is the only system that's been patented and given an FDA Class 3 medical device for treating anxiety, depression, insomnia. It's been used by 56 professional sports teams, the Department of Defense, Navy SEALs, the FBI, it's everywhere. So I want you guys to try it. So you can get a free trial by just texting the word CALM, CALM, to this number, 213-409-8366. 213-409. Okay, 213-409-8366. Text,
or they can do a search for NuCalm.
Yeah, but just text the word CALM. I mean, it's easy, and because I love it, they've given me like a special little thing. So if you text CALM to 213-409-8366, you'll get a special free trial. All right, that's it. I love it. It's been a life changer. So I really want all you guys to try it. That's all I'm going to say on it.
What do we text CALM to?
CALM 213-409-8366.
It's funny that you say neural beats because I had never heard that term before. And I had a guy on the show, Wayne, I forget Wayne's last name, and he has
Wayne Altman.
Yeah, you know Wayne?
Wayne's a good friend of mine. He's amazing.
Of course. There's probably two guys that know about neural beats. So, yeah. It's music, right? The stuff that he is promoting through, what is it called? Melody Clouds or something like that.
It's a different,
because he had some edition.
Yeah. It's a different company. It's the same concept. I know that NuCalm is the only one that has, that's been given a Class 3 medical device by the FDA and is patented and has been used in surgeries instead of general anesthesia. Like, it's crazy how powerful.
And it's the same methodology or whatever neural beats are.
And the story of it is
subliminal, right? Neural beats are subliminal, buried in the music.
Right. Yeah. So your brain operates on waves, and this is all I'm going to say. Last thing I'm going to say: your brain operates on a waveform. Right. Everything is right. Everything is waveform. Everything is wave. Light is waves. Color. Right. Everything. Right. Right. And so we are electrical. Our brain operates on waves, and that wave can be changed by adding another alpha wave on top of it. And look, I thought this was a bunch of BS. I was drag kicking and screaming to it, but it works. It freaking works. I don't care how it works. It works. It's great. You have to try it.
All right, I'll try it myself, and we'll put that in the show notes so people listening who are driving don't pull over and have an accident. So we'll be in the show notes.
Yeah, don't use it while you're driving. That's the only place.
Don't use it while you drive. Right, don't put it in your phone and listen. Okay, so what were we saying? I was just saying about great stuff. Okay, so I think some of the stuff we want to talk about, right? You mentioned about like the common things you see, because I see them too. I've been practicing law for 31 years plus, right? Of why people, let's not even use the word fail. Let's say struggle.
Okay. I like
they
that.
Don't have to fail. They can just struggle, right? They say how many businesses fail within 2 to 5 years. That doesn't count the ones that struggle.
Yeah.
And it's not fun. Yeah. So what are the kind of things that you see that stands in the way of success, that makes people struggle, that makes them fail?
Okay. I'll say it this way. We have an ego structure, right? The reason that human beings has survived all of these years is because our ego structure says, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have food in your belly? Do you have people who care about you and love you? You do? Those 3 boxes are checked. Keep doing that. Don't change. Okay?
Right.
So our ego structure is designed to lock that in. Now, when you start thinking about something new, doing something new, taking a new action, your ego structure says, don't do it. It will take you.
Everyone else does it this way. You shouldn't be doing it this way.
And look, if you're someone who says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you should definitely talk to your local Blockbuster employee about that. Right?
Exactly. Or that was a bad move.
Right. Or go to Radio Shack. Talk to Radio Shack about it. Right. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it is our foundational approach to life. Now, you're going to have to override that belief by consistently doing things that you think are bad ideas. Now, Mitch.
Different than other people are doing. But isn't that inherently our fear? Like that's why we do that, right? We don't want to fail. And so we say, well, everyone's doing it this way, so I'm going to keep doing it that way. It's my safety net. Right. Because you want to be safe. You don't want to take risks.
Yeah, but it just depends on what you want. Like if you want to live an exceptional life, and look, I have studied successful people all of my professional life, from Dr. King to Richard Branson, Elon Musk, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, they all do the same thing. All right. Yeah. And the thing that they do consistently is they stand in the face of other people's judgments. Right. Yeah. They do the things that people tell them not to do. Now, look, if somebody said, Mitch, you should blindfold yourself and walk across the expressway, right? That seems like a bad idea. That's a risk, right? But what's the
outcome? Also, not everyone's doing it, right?
Right. So it seems like the advice that we're giving is right in line with that. But you have to say, what's the outcome that I want? What's the great thing I want to bring to the world? And that right there, I think the answer to your question, Mitch, as we're sort of discovering this in the moment,
it's fun.
Your vision, the great thing that you want to bring to the world. For me, it's greater consciousness. Everything that I've been talking to you about, that the fact that you who are listening are the common denominator of your life, that the things that you struggle with, that you fail, are designed to push you forward in life, not stop you, as long as you stay in the fire, as long as you stay in action. That is consciousness.
Being conscious of it is the key, right?
Right.
You don't know what's going on.
Right. And everybody that I've just been talking about, I had the advantage or the joy of interviewing Richard Branson's business partner, the great late Phil Quadraro, Phil Q. You can look him up. So Branson came to Phil Q. Phil Q was the president of RCA Records at the time, making what would be $1 million a year as running RCA. Branson owned a couple little record stores in London. And he came to Phil and said, I'm going to start a label. Now, look, today, everybody with a phone can start a label, right? But nobody had ever done that. I'm going to start a label called Virgin. And Branson was so thrilled with this idea, and he was so committed to his vision.
Yeah.
And he didn't go, hey, Phil, let's make a lot of money. He said, let's let artists who the big companies like Sony and RCA, let's create a label where virgin bands can get wide airplay. And because he was so enthusiastic about that, let me say that again, he was enthusiastic about that. Phil said, I'm in. Now, when Phil went to his boss and said, I'm leaving and I'm going to work with this guy, Richard Branson, and the guy's like, who? Right? Right.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy.
Right. Oh, he thought it was crazy. He said, what are you doing? You're leaving $1 million. Like, why are you going to do this? And
of course.
And Phil said, because I can't not do it. Like, I want to see what I can create. Right. I want to be a part of this vision of creating this whole new record label. And look, if it fails, I'll figure it out. And you who are listening right now, this is the emotional cushion that you have to give yourself. You're going to be okay. Your ship will right itself.
Right. I lost. The sun will rise another day.
Yeah.
You'll figure it.
I lost everything. Right.
Yeah.
And you know what, Mitch? I don't want to lose everything again, but I know if I lose everything again, I can come back. I've already done it.
People have done it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I know people have done it many times.
And by the way, I'm at the very bottom of the class of people who have lost everything. You know, my $80,000, $100,000 story is nothing compared to, millions of dollars, thousands of people that they put out of work and they came back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, look, as a lawyer, I find myself reinventing myself every 10, 15 years, something like that.
Yeah.
In terms of how I run my practice and what I do and what I want to do.
Yeah.
And things like that. I think, Dan, these successful people that you've been fortunate enough to study and work with and meet and whatever, they do things very often that unsuccessful people don't do. And it's not that the unsuccessful people, for the most part, can't do them. There are some things that the situation allows them to do other people can't do. But I think for the most part, they're not, magicians. They're not like, conjurers conjuring something up. They just do these things that other people are unwilling to do.
They breathe the same air you do. They're no different. Right. Right.
They're not eating different kind of food.
No.
And,
and they don't have, and there's nothing special. There's nothing special. Like all of these coaches, and I got to be honest, I hate most coaches.
What's special about them? They're willing to do it. Right.
All these, I have this secret thing there is no secret thing. There's no secret thing. Right.
Right. That's the secret. There is no secret.
Right. Study what successful people do and do that. It will scare the crap out of you. And look, and the question that you asked me earlier, what's the thing? The thing are our stories that we tell ourselves. We tell ourselves an infinite number of stories about why we can't do something. And when I came back after this transformation, I sat down and I wrote a book. I didn't intend to. I just wrote out all the stories that I told myself that I overcame. And I wrote a book called Jumping the Gap. And the gap is where you are right now and where you want to be, right? If you imagine two cliff sides and you're looking at that other cliff, maybe 15, 30 feet away, everything that you want is over there. Now you're terrified about jumping that gap because, what if I fall? What if I, right? And so I took that, I turned that into a little book, and it's on Amazon. You can buy it, but I'd rather give it to your audience for free. So to get my free book, Jumping the Gap, Kill Your Story and Take Action. And this is about how to kill all those stories that you tell yourself about why you can't. To get this book, just text the word GAP to that same number, 213-409-8366. Text GAP, G-A-P, to 213-409-8366 and download my free book, right? There's nothing to buy. Like you don't go there and then you have to buy something else. It's not a funnel. Just get the book for free.
Right. Well, Dan, isn't that what they say that, that our heads and the way we think is all stories. And if you're more attached to the story that scares the crap out of you and you're convinced that it won't happen and you can't do it, whatever, it's not really that you can't do it. Your mind's just making you believe that. If you can cross that chasm and get to be attached to the stories of success, that's where the transformation happens. That's the magic, let's say. Use that in air quotes.
Can I tell you what my favorite story is to kill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
My favorite story to kill is, and this is a story that you who are listening right now, you've told yourself dozens of times, we all have, I can't afford it. Right. Now, the reason that story is so hard to kill, and the reason that story doesn't seem like a story in reality, is because in the 3D world, you can point to your bank account and say, well, look at the money that I have, right? I have this amount of money. This is the thing I want to buy. I can't afford it. And what look, I'm expensive. I'm an expensive coach, just like you're an expensive lawyer, right? Yeah. When you're good at what you do, you charge people a lot. It's just the way that it is. And so when people say to me, and I hear it a lot, they say, well, look, I want to coach with you. I just can't afford it. And I say back to them, well, I don't believe that. And I know it's not true. And they're like, hey, I'll show you my bank account. And I say, look, I have no doubt that you have created in the 3D world, in your reality, this belief that you have about yourself, right? That's what you've done. You've limited your income to show that you can't afford things because that's your belief. Now, when we shift your belief, the money comes rolling in. And I
can't afford not to do it.
Right. Yeah. Right? And everybody says, oh, that's a bunch of crap. That's it. Right.
No, it's not.
I make money for my clients. I just do. Because
if not, they wouldn't be coming back to you. They wouldn't be sticking to you. What that, I don't need a drinking buddy.
Yeah. I tell people
Yeah.
the truth that they don't want to hear. And frankly, it's not just about how to make money. The reason I focus on sales and on selling is because anything that you struggle with in business and in life shows up in a sales interaction, right? Your sense of self-worth, the belief in your product, your beliefs about money. Any pushback that you get in a sales interaction, in a sales conversation is going to trigger the things that you struggle with. So in helping people sell better and sell authentically, and that's my style of sales, authentic sales, no douchebag selling. Yeah. It's my new product.
No, absolutely.
I love it. When you have authentic conversations with people, you are opening yourself up. You're opening them up. You're realizing your own resistance that's only mirrored in your prospect.
Yeah, no, when I started younger in the business, I was kind of in I would say financial planning, but the insurance business, that's how I started doing a lot of estate planning, business, all the legal work that I do. I always felt that, you were always taught in sales, this technique and that technique and the Franklin close, that, right? And I always felt like, well, I'm not comfortable doing that. And then people are going to know I'm not comfortable. I should find a way to be comfortable with how I talk to people and myself. And I think that the secret, if there is a secret, right? Like you mentioned before about energy that you put out, right? And everything like that. If you are a positive person and you have positive energy going out to the world, it comes back to you, not magically. Yeah. It's just that you attract higher quality people. You find the right people who want it. For some reason, they're like, I want to do business with Dan. He really makes me feel good when I with him, and there's a lot to be said about that. And it's subliminal and it takes practice. But if you are a positive person and you put positive things out into the world, like you said, I can't afford it. I can't, whether you want to be negative and keep things away, you're going to attract them anyway. You're just going to attract the bad stuff. Right. Because the message you're putting out and the people that are bad are going to be like, oh, I want to be with Mitch. He's really down. I want to be with him. And I find that constantly with all the people that I talk to, the ones that have the emotion and the excitement that you bring to the table, that you bring to your clients, are the ones that are going up, and the ones that are the naysayers. And Dan, you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I can't afford that. And they got all the reason in the world why you're wrong. Yeah. They're not going to be part of the 20% of the 20%. They're going to be part of the 80% that don't even come.
I love that. And I like I said at the top of this, I want to give your listeners, you who are listening right now, I want to give you something that you can use immediately. So can we do like a mini little role play, Mitch?
Yeah. Can I interrupt?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
I have a sponsors that pay me a little bit of money. So let's take a minute and a half, 2 minute commercial, and then we'll come back.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Okay. All right. Hang in there.
Here's a word from our sponsors.
Looking to market and grow your business? Or perhaps you're just getting started and want to hit the ground running? AWeber is the best choice for online email marketing and automation of your business. From maintaining a subscriber list to drip campaigns and landing pages, AWeber gives you tools and integrations that make marketing easy and fun. As our partner and sponsor, we use all their tools to promote the podcast and market our law firm. AWeber, the best alternative for online marketing. For over 30 years, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has built a thriving community of forward-thinking CEOs and business owners who want to radically improve their companies. Through unique combinations of one-on-one business coaching, participation in monthly TAB board meetings with other non-competing owners, a suite of strategic tools, and customized strategic planning workshops, TAB membership can deliver greater strength to your business and a better work-life balance for you and your family. All packaged in a streamlined and affordable service that the people at TAB invite you to try risk-free. Are you struggling with managing advertising due to a lack of time or expertise? Perhaps you're facing challenges in scaling ads for your store. Are you feeling lost when strategies have no success? GSM Growth Agency is your reliable partner in overcoming these business challenges. Feel the impact of collaborating with a team dedicated not only to short-term goals, but also to building long-term partnerships and achieving sustained success. Embark on an exciting journey to redefine the possibilities of e-commerce and create a legacy of unparalleled excellence. Take decisive action now. Follow their link in the show notes to receive a complimentary audit of your Shopify store conducted by a GSM expert. Propel your e-commerce game to new heights with GSM Growth Agency.
Follow the link in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show.
All right, Dan, we're back. So when you're holding up the book, I see it reversed. Do you see it not reverse on your side?
Yeah.
So then maybe when it's recorded, it'll straighten.
Okay.
All right. So you were getting into right?
Okay. So we're going to do a mini little role play with a sales. So we're going to deconstruct I can't afford it, and I'm going to give you four simple words that you can use to transform any sales experience. All right, and I'm going to tell you what those words are first. Hey, I get it. All right, little innocuous words. Okay, so I'm going to pitch my coaching to you, Mitch. I'd like you to say that you can't afford it. Okay. So
do you want me to say it?
I want you to say that you can't afford it. Okay.
And I can't afford it.
Look. Okay. Well, hold on. So, Mitch, so my coaching services for a year, it's, and we'll be working every week. It's $67,000 for the year.
Okay. I cannot afford that, Dan.
Hey, I get it. Like, Mitch, I know what it feels like to really want something and to be like, I can't afford it. Can I tell you a little story, Mitch?
Sure.
Yeah. So when I went to buy my Model X, right, I looked at that. It's $114,000. And like, I can't look every. Yeah. And look, I mean, I'm not sitting on a pile of cash. I mean, every dollar I make, I put right back into my company. So I don't want to spend. But the thing is, I wanted a car that drives itself. I wanted a car that's really comfortable because my wife and I are taking these cross-country trips. We hate driving. Right. I want the car to drive itself. So that's the cost of doing this. And so I realized that rather than say I can't afford it, I needed to create the money. So can we talk about creating money, Mitch? Would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay. So time out. I want to deconstruct what I did. I'm sure that you know because you're totally with it, right? So when somebody says to you, I can't afford it, your immediate natural reaction is to reply to the I can't afford it, right?
Right. You want to justify what you're doing.
Right.
That's
like, or the BS thing that, used car people, well, you can't afford not to, right?
It's like, right. Of course, okay. Can't afford.
So what I did is I became compassionate.
Right.
Because what Mitch's character was saying, not Mitch, is that I'm afraid that I'm going to spend $67,000 and it's going to go to waste. And then I'm going to look at myself in the bathroom mirror in the morning and say, what an idiot.
Really bad.
Yeah.
Right. What a moron.
Right.
I'm now $67,000 poorer.
Right. my wife, my partner, my friends are going to be like, whoa, did you get taken in? Right. By that.
Right. We always think we're going to get taken by a salesman. That natural instinct.
So all of that is going on in Mitch's mind, right? I'm sorry, the person that you were playing. All right.
Right.
We'll call him Steve. All of that was going on in Steve's mind. Now, now I have to address that. If I'm addressing what Steve said, as opposed to what Steve is thinking, I'm not talking to Steve, right? I'm talking to Steve's alibi.
Steve doesn't hear you.
Right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to become Steve. I'm going to be, instead of being on the opposite side of the table, I'm going to come around to Steve's side of the table, kind of put my arm around him and go, man, I've been there.
Empathy.
Yes, that is it 100%. And then I'm going to tell a story about where I struggled with the same thing that he's struggling with.
Right.
And then once I have that empathy, that buy-in, that understanding, now I say, can we talk about? And I'm asking a question. I'm asking your permission. I'm not saying, okay, now let's talk about you affording me. Can we talk about it? Right? It puts you in the feeling of control, because you can always say no. And I'll say things like, look, if anything that I say doesn't make any sense, you can end this conversation.
Right. Absolutely. But you know in your heart of hearts that he, Steve, or me role playing, wants you to work with you. Want the success that you bring to the table. They're just stuck with this story that they can't afford it.
Right.
I always felt like in like financial planning world, right? That, the people are trying to sell products and whatever. Maybe they need life insurance. They need to protect their family, right? You as the planner is not supposed to be the person that says, you can't, how could you do, you got to buy this, It's your job to make it affordable for them, to figure out how they can pay for it, not why they need it or whatever. Like everyone knows that if you die and you love someone, that's why you need life insurance for. If you don't love anybody, you don't need it, right?
Right.
So,
But an empty life.
Let's not figure out a way to do it the cheapest, to get the least amount, to find a way that your family's going to get by with the smallest amount of money possible. Let's figure a way to do it the right way. And it's my job to teach you to figure out how. And the guys that I know that are financial advisors are the good ones. That's what they do. They're they're giving advice. So,
yeah.
And
look,
but I think you're stuck with that story, like you said. I can't afford it. That's the first response. And you want this pack of gum? I can't afford that.
And I just
and 5, 6.
And something really important, Mitch. I need to clarify something that that you just brought up a minute ago, which is that's a conversation I have 3 or 4 conversations into a conversation with someone, right? So when I first start talking to someone about the potential of coaching them, I do not pitch them.
Of course not. You're going to say, oh, by the way, before we get started, I want you to know, Mitch, charge $6,000 to $7,000 a year. So if that's a problem for you, we should know that now. And they're like, Dan, I don't even know what you do, how you do it.
It's like going on a first date and going, how many kids do you want? Like, whoa, can we just have a conversation? Right. So, So the example that I gave you is highly manipulative if you are opening conversations like that. If you don't establish a foundation of a relationship. So I tell people, look, and you can book a call with me right now. In fact, if you text the word help,
call into our show. You want to call into our show right now?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Okay, right. No, but if you text the word help to that same number, 213-409-8366, text help, HELP, you can book a 15-minute. What's that?
Is that basically your cell phone number?
Yeah. You can look, you'll get an autoresponder. You can set up a call with me, a 15-minute call, and I won't pitch you. Yeah. I will not pitch you.
Right. I do the same thing. 20 minutes. I'll talk for free.
And look, if it makes sense to have another conversation, we'll have another conversation. In that second conversation, I still might not pitch you. It just depends, because I am interviewing you to make sure I can get you paid back for what you pay me. And if I don't think I can, no way am I going to take you on.
Right. Absolutely. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Listen, I might not be the right lawyer for you, or working with you may be more painful for me than it is for you.
Right. Where's she at?
Right. Or I can find you somebody, or you might even say that, you know what, I don't think I'm the right coach for you, but I have a colleague of mine who I think you might be a better fit for. That it's funny that I don't know if they call that the puppy dog close or whatever. That's like, you let people off the hook and you say, hey, listen, as we went through this process, I'm seeing that maybe I'm not the right guy for you. Maybe you ought to talk to, no, Dan, I think you're perfect for me. and this and that. Look, I think people get things they want.
Yeah.
They figure it.
And that's the thing is that, by the time that somebody decides to coach with me, and this is very important, they have to be all in. I'm not going to take our first session with the person going, I'm not sure if I made the right choice. We have to hit the ground running.
It doesn't help you. It doesn't help them. It doesn't help you grow your business. It doesn't give you satisfying results. I don't want to work for a client either if they're going to complain the whole time and be dissatisfied. I want them to be on the same page as me so I can help them the best way that I can help them. You got to help people. I'm sure you have no shortage of people who want to do business with you, who you can find to do business with. But and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pick and choose.
And
that's one of the great things about life.
I grew up, in a hardworking Midwestern Jewish family, right? Where education, ethics, and hard work, was the key. My great grandfather started a business that my grandfather and uncles, right? Like this is just in me, right? Yeah, right. And so when I take on a client, Mitch, I'm always concerned about getting them paid back. And until they start earning the money that they're paying me, I feel a little pit in my stomach, right?
Yeah.
It's just
because you don't want the person to think that they're not getting the value that you're bringing.
Yeah.
To them. That's an uncomfortable.
It's my own ethics.
Feel.
Yeah. It's just my own ethics.
It's the same thing with law. I don't like clients to feel like, we're not getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
How come what I'm sending them a bill and they're like, oh shit, I got a bill from my lawyer.
Right. I think you and I, Mitch, I think we're very similar in that if we're at a dinner party and the person next to us says, hey, what do you do? And you go, I'm a lawyer. And I say, I'm a coach or I'm a salesman. They're like, okay. Right. Right. Our professions.
I don't feel like I should tell them everything that I do and all the kind of work.
Right. Yeah.
I'm such a great lawyer. I just say, no, I work with small business. I'm a small business lawyer. Oh, okay. What do you do?
Yeah.
Dan, tell me more about yourself.
Exactly.
That's what I would prefer.
Right.
I want to know about that.
I can, right. And that leads into something too, networking, right? If you want to do successful business networking, when somebody says to you, what do you do for a living? What they're really saying is, I hope the answer is something that's interesting to me, right?
Right.
And the most interesting thing to someone else is what, Mitch?
Talking about
themselves, right? So when I'm in a networking situation, when I'm in a networking situation, someone says, what do you do? I say, look, I've been talking about myself for hours. Tell me about you. Oh, they're so delighted.
Right. Oh, yeah. Right. You know how many times I've had people say to me, oh, I heard from Dan that you met him at this party. He said, oh, you were great. You were such a great guy. It was such a great thing. And I'm thinking, I didn't even say a word. Like I said, hey, yeah. Oh, tell me about yourself. Right. When you get people talking about themselves, they think
you're smart, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing. It's a little psychological, but it's a great thing because it makes you more comfortable. Mm-hmm. It takes the pressure off of you, makes them more comfortable. People love talking about themselves. You learn things about them. Don't ever, right? The last one to talk loses the sale or something like that.
So right? Look, everything that Mitch and I are sharing right now is all about moving your vision forward. And look, I'm not this, what is it? Do what you love and the money will follow. Because it doesn't. I mean, it may eventually, but not for a long time. And you're going to be really stressed out. So
about it.
What's that?
You got to be a little bit more strategic.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so look, and by the way, if you're making dream boards right now, you're a moron. Stop. It's a colossal waste of time. So a lot of people hate me when I say that. So
I know.
Right.
You got to.
When you get someone talking about themselves, you're learning about them and seeing if they're a good potential client, right? You're also upping your social capital because they think that you're brilliant when you're asking them questions about themselves. And
just psychologically feel good.
And look, everything that we're sharing, this can be highly manipulative if you use it for manipulation.
Right.
If you're using it to move your vision forward, there's this thing I want to create in the world, and I'm amassing a group of people to help me do that, right? I'm being influential for the purpose of birthing this idea. Dr. King, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Richard Branson, and all these people have been all mission focused. Now, you take someone like Jim Jones, literally the drink the Kool-Aid guy. He used the very same tools that we're using, that Dr. King, he used the same tools, but the vision he was moving forward was himself. So if you're focused,
those people Felicity Jonestown, he killed all of his
Right.
disciples and then killed
Right. Yeah. And that's where the drink the Kool-Aid comes from, right?
his followers. Right.
And so,
Terrible.
right. And so you have to stay mission focused because that's how people connect with you. When you talk about this great thing that you're bringing to the world, that's what makes people say, you know what, this is something unusual. And people are really reticent about doing that. Oh, they're going to think I'm weird and all that. But know what? It makes you stand out. It makes you special.
Yeah. And you know what? That's why everybody's so hesitant to do business with you, or, because they don't know who's the ethical ones and who's just trying to pull the wool over their eyes. So you got to get better at, making people comfortable and letting them off the hook and saying, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Let's just have a conversation type of thing, and not get caught up with, how do you sell and this and that, we got to sell. And because it just makes you uncomfortable, and then you radiate it to them and they're uncomfortable and you'd struggle, and it's not fun either.
No,
like some of this should be fun. You should enjoy what you do, because I always say, if you can enjoy it on the worst day, you'll be okay, because there are going to be bad days, right? You're going to struggle. I'm going to struggle again.
Tons.
It's going to happen. So even at the age that we're at, people, you start to get the age. I'm 57. So you like 55 to 65, people die. Like things start happening in life that are like real. My dad passed away a year and a couple of months ago. And, he was pretty healthy up until that time, within a year or two. And it just happened. And life has a way of, of just beating the shit out of you. And you gotta, but you can't, but I also have kids. I'm like, we're the sandwich generation, right? So I also have kids who are, the last one just decided she's going to University of Arizona last night. So I got one at Maryland, one graduated, one going to Arizona. Yeah. So I got them at the bottom. I got
I just want to say to your audience, will you please buy something from Mitch right now? Please buy something. This man has to get these kids launched.
Yeah. The good thing is my little one was the only one who got offered money from the school she's going to. So, well, we got payments up the wazoo. So yeah, if you were listening, please, I don't know what I have to sell, whatever it is, buy
some merch. Just buy some merch, right?
Yeah. Buy a lot of t-shirts. Yeah, absolutely. So Dan, let's talk about, because we're at 55 minutes to an hour. You're a busy guy. You got a lot of things going on. What's the best way for people to, to get started on the right road, whether that's with you or with another coach or whatever, to increasing their chances of starting to feel better about this thing called entrepreneurship?
Okay. I'm going to shill a little bit. And that is, text CALM 213-409-8366. Get yourself in a better emotional state. You need a foundational state. Right. Okay. Now, while you're listening to Newcom, read my book, Jump in the Gap. It's a tiny little book. You can read it in a few hours. 213-409-8366. Text GAP, GAP. Text CALM to that same.
I guess it's a lot about, like you said earlier, about recognizing that it'll get better.
Yeah.
If you're struggling now and you're willing to pick up your bootstraps and say, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to try it differently, I'm going to do this, it will get better. It always does.
I got one other thing that it just came to me, and that is that so I'm going to a leadership training seminar, right? I'm good at leadership, but I can always get better. Another thing, really expensive. Right. I can't afford it, right? Like I didn't want to spend the money, but I'm like, oh, here we go, right? I just have to.
You got to do it.
Right.
Walk the walk.
Yeah. And so, hold on. Yeah. So I realized that in order to get my thinking like in line with where I need to be, I need to continually challenge myself, right? So it's at the end of this month. The person that I talked to about the program, I told her, here's what I want out of the program, right? I want to be
this is something you're going to be a participant
in,
right?
Right. Yeah. This is one of the rare things that I'm not leading. Right. And exactly. So I said, look, it's important to me to be a major voice in the world, right? I have a message of consciousness for entrepreneurs that is very important. That's why I'm doing all these shows. And I said, something's holding me back. I'm not getting there. And she said, well, what are you doing right now, today? And I said, not much. And I said, whoa, that's it. So I set a goal for myself to record one video a day that's about the things that we're discussing, about a minute and a half long, and post it on LinkedIn. And so I have been doing that every day, and I'll be doing that from now until the time I go to this conference. Do I want to do it when I get up in the morning? Absolutely not, right? Do I want to blow it off? Of course I do. Do I always think I have something important to say? No. Do I struggle with the videos? Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Right. I got a video on me. I know I'm going to post it. I know thousands of people are going to see it. I'm nervous. Oh, what if they think I'm stupid? Right? All of these things, right, are things I don't want to do, but I'm doing it because it's in line with my mission. So do something.
And it will work. You just are consistent about putting out your message.
Right. It's the it's the Elton John piano playing thing, right? And so I know if I keep doing this, something's going to happen. I don't know what.
Right.
I'm probably not going to get a single client off of LinkedIn. I'm probably not going to get any. Right. Something's going to happen. And that's.
And if you're a business owner and you're doing all the things that you should do, putting out content, putting on your videos, doing it on a regular basis all the time. Somebody says, "Can I do a podcast and be successful?" I go, "I don't know," but don't do it and think you're going to put out 8 episodes and be successful. You might not be to 50 or 80 till you start connecting with people. And now I'm at 300. You just keep doing what you're doing and you're going to get results, and they're not going to be negative.
Yeah. And new ideas will come to you. You know,
that's the magic.
Yeah. So the really cool thing that
new ideas will come to you. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was talking with Rosalind, my partner, about this, and she goes, you really love movies. Why don't you use movies in these videos? I'm like, well, that's a great idea. So so I used Apollo 13. There's this cool line from Apollo 13, not Houston, we have a problem, but where they're in the broken spaceship and they're frustrated and they're arguing with each other and they're blaming each other. And Tom Hanks, as Jim Lovell, says, look, we're not going to go bouncing off the walls for 10 minutes because we're just going to end up right back here with the same problem, trying to figure out how to stay alive. I'm like, wow, is that perfect for business? Because we all want to go bouncing off the walls, but we end up with the same problem.
What do they call you? You wheel out of control, right?
Yes.
You got to just reel it in. Look, you mentioned something before about stress. If I'm stressed about a problem and I can't deal with it, I go to sleep. I forget about it. And my mind has a way. And then the next day you wake up, you're like, I never really thought about that. Mm-hmm. And boom, it solves itself. So people got to get the stress out of their life. It's bad stuff.
And by the way, check me out on LinkedIn. Just search Coach Dan Gordon on LinkedIn and you got to see these videos. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Dan, I can't thank you enough for joining me today for a great conversation. And stick around. I'll play the closing credits and we'll take it.
It has been just delightful. And most of all, I want to thank you who are listening right now. The fact that you're listening tells me that you really care about bringing something new and rich to the world. You are a badass entrepreneur because you're putting the time in. It's the people who are struggling and saying, I don't know, and wringing their hands and doing nothing that are never going to get to where you've gotten. So thank you for being a badass entrepreneur and bringing cool stuff to the world.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Accidental Entrepreneur. Opening and closing music written and performed by Howie Moskovich and made to order music. For information about Howie and his music services, please follow the link in our show notes. If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and most of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@beinackerlaw.com.
The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted by Mitch Beinacker and produced by Beinacker Law. If you'd like to learn more about our business and legal services, you can find us on social media or visit our website at beinackerlaw.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.